What's up, guys? CryptoSavy here with our special guest, Ugly Old Goat. How you doing, Ugly Old Goat?
I'm doing good. Thank you for the invite.
I appreciate you being on the show. So just to introduce yourself and kind of let the people that don't know who you are in here know who you are and what you're about.
Yeah, I'm just kind of an old Bitcoiner that I'd heard about Bitcoin, but I didn't get into it until 2013. $100. And I've been very successful at trading it and hodling it, which is not an easy thing to do. And then, I think it was back in 2017, I went to the Latin American Bitcoin conference.
Hold on, Ugly. They're saying they can't hear you.
Oh, yeah? Really? Is that better?
Can you hear them now?
Hello, hello.
Let me, no. They're saying they can't hear you.
We're not on mute.
Now they can.
Hear me? Oh, and you know what? I hope I have some glasses. Give me those glasses because these just broke. So these are white.
Said it's really low.
Well, maybe we can turn it up on this end. Well, I doubt it. I mean, we can hear it fine.
Yeah, I can hear you through mine too.
It's theirs. I mean, I don't think it's fine.
Somebody's saying it's fine. Some people are saying it's not.
All right. How do we get a vote? You do a poll on this thing? You probably will in a few months. They've changed this stuff so quickly.
I'm going to try. Let me see if there's anything on my end I can do real quick before we go any further.
How about now? Okay, how about this? Is it doing? Can you hear me?
Okay, let me I'll put the speaker by me over here by my microphone.
Feel me on the pinball wheel.
Does that help? Okay, they said it's better now.
Okay, we going? No, so I guess I should repeat myself. We'll start all over, guys. So, at any rate, I am glad that Savy invited me on, and he wanted me to give you a little bit of history. I got into Bitcoin in 2013. I bought my first Bitcoin at under $100, and I really was, very successful in my trading. And then I went to a Bitcoin conference in Latin America in December of 2017, and I kind of had a paper that I'd written quite some time ago that I showed to COINBASE, and then I started writing a Medium article. So I kind of made my bones different. Most people have done it through YouTube or some other way, and I actually went into this thing through my Medium articles, and just been lately that we've done. I've been doing Twitter after I did the Medium, and then this last year we started doing YouTube. So hey, I know you're called, what is your name? Savy?
Savvy.
Savvy. Okay. Well, I one of the things I teach is hodl, 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 save, 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 and build it, build it, build it. And one of the things that I do is it's Savy, SAVVY, and because there's more to Bitcoin than just hodling. You want to hodl, and I've written about dollar cost averaging on that. That's kind of my flagship article is how to get the same results as a professional trader without taking the risk, and that's hodling. And then after that, you want to be savvy, and that's kind of my wife does that. She when the Bitcoin price goes up, she's savvy enough to make me sell some, even though I don't want to buy her something, whether it's a vacation or a Raptor or something like that, or a new house. And then the third part of Bitcoin is build it, and that is that you need to start building on Bitcoin and figuring out ways to build your own economy on it. And that's not building on altcoins, but building on Bitcoin alone. And so that's what I did when we started this last year. I started uglyOldGoat.com, which is a website, and I started writing a newsletter and started selling that. So that's sort of my whole philosophy in Bitcoin. It's pretty straightforward and pretty simple.
Nice. I hear you talk about money management a lot, and that being the key to trading.
Yep, and that's what I teach over and over again. What I emphasize over and over again is there's really 3 secrets to trading, and the first one is money management, okay? And the second one is money management. And the third one is money management. And if you don't get it yet, if you think, oh, I got it, you really don't get it, because the fourth one is money management too. And that is the secret to success. And I'll tell you why it is. It's the easiest thing to learn and the hardest thing to implement. It's the hardest thing to follow. And that's where most people get it wrong. Most people emphasize the technical. And the technical is the hardest thing to learn, but the easiest thing to implement. And everybody, has the holy grail that they're gonna sell you. So I emphasize money management first. That's the secret to trading. The second thing I emphasize is the fundamentals, and the fundamentals aren't that hard. The Bitcoin fundamentals it's the longest chain with proof of work with a limited supply. And so we can transfer it, it's semi-anonymous. But the underlying number one fundamental of Bitcoin is not even Bitcoin, it's our dollar. And so that's the fundamentals. Now, once you get those two things firmly in mind, then you can start, looking at the technical part of trading. But it has to be within that context. And so the context of trading is, once you have your HODL, you never want to be trading or risking more than about 5% of your HODL. And I never go net short. I mean, I go short, but I don't go so short that I might sell up to 50 or 60% of my Bitcoin on BitMEX as a hedge, but I'm always net long. And so that's the thing that you want to be learning. And so what I did is I decided, you know what, I don't need to do this anymore. I'm 70 years old. I'm going to pass on what I do know. And I was publishing my trading on Medium, and people wanted more and more of it. I said, well, I can't do all this for free. So then I started the newsletter, and I publish all my trades. So we started with 2 Bitcoin in February 4th, and it's now sitting at about 33 Bitcoin. We had an equity high of 38, and I was bullish on this last dip and risked 5 Bitcoin on a trade. I don't risk that much, but I thought this time it was worthwhile. So we're about 33 Bitcoin that we've equity. I've taken out 32. I'm just trading with a little over 1 right now. So one of the secrets that I teach is that small traders can become large traders. Okay, and most small traders stay small traders. Most large traders become small traders. A lot of people don't realize that. They think there are these whales out here, but there's a lot of whales that have gotten wiped out, and there's a lot more whales out there that we will see get wiped out in the coming year or 2 years, or whatever the time frame is. And then the third thing is, if there are some small traders that become large traders, and the wise large trader becomes a small trader again. And that's part of money management. In other words, although I've taken out over 30 Bitcoin, I've taken out 32 Bitcoin so far, starting with 2, I'm only trading with a little over 1 right now. And that's the secret to money management.
So when you pulled those out, do you cash them out, or do you HODL them?
You always want to HODL some. And in my case, I was starting new businesses, so that's part of the other part that I just was teaching, you have the Savy. My wife got a new F-250 this year, so that was part of the first Savy.
Okay.
And I started this business, and we're starting another one. We're starting another business called BitcoinNation.org because we really want to build a go-to website for entrepreneurs and newbies, so they have really good information about Bitcoin and Bitcoin alone. And so it's really more, we're not going to create content, but we're going to be more of curators of the content that's already out there. And that's a bigger project than I thought, and it kind of grew out of our working man's. The other thing I did this year, which is building, is we started a little conference and cruise called the Working Man's Bitcoin Cruise.
I seen that.
And yeah, and that's kind of, it was not a financial success, although I didn't lose on it.
That's always good.
Yeah, I mean, it was, so the first conference is break even is good. And it kind of came out of there because everybody's just so excited. There's so much talent out there. You know, I don't have a lot more time left, and hopefully I can just teach the little bit that I know and what's going to happen, you know, in the future in this next generation is going to come from you guys. So all I want to do is pass on the little bit I do know and help those out. You know, there's two kind of entrepreneurs in the world. There's those with Bitcoin and those without Bitcoin. So we want to help. We want to educate those that are interested in Bitcoin and help them out. And then there's two kinds of entrepreneurs, and those are the established entrepreneurs that have a substantial net worth. But there's the majority of the entrepreneurs are small entrepreneurs that have they have talent, but maybe no capital or very little capital and a lot of talent. And so that's what we want to appeal to both of those segments. And, you know, that's sort of where I'm going.
Okay. Interesting. Do you have anything, like, I know a lot of people in this space want to just jump into trading. Is there anything you want to suggest to them, like how to prepare or what to do before just jumping in?
Yeah, well, the first thing I would do is you don't want to trade till you have a hodl. Okay, if you don't have at least 5% of your net worth in a hodl, then you're not ready to trade. I don't have any problems recommending 15%. I'm currently about 40%. I'm very comfortable with that. I know people that are 80%. I was one time 100% and even more. But you know, like I say, by following not just hodling, but by saving and by building. Now we're actually talking to you from our studio, which we call the Bitcoin House, which was paid for by Bitcoin. So this is part of the Savy thing. And so where we're going to go with this, I don't know, but we're having lots of fun doing it. And this is yeah. So Eddie says he's having fun. He puts together my videos. So
okay.
Yeah, I do want to mention we kind of got together because Savy kind of gave me a heads up long ago about Kostas Arasimov, and I appreciated that, but I kind of dismissed it because I said, well, I don't have any, you know, real hard evidence of anything. And it seems as long as we're on the right track. And that's kind of why I was looking for you this weekend when everything fell apart. I said, who is this guy that was telling me about this and warned me last spring? And then you came and tweeted me. I said, oh, I'm glad you got a hold of me because I was looking for you and I never could find you.
Yeah,
so,
I was happy to see you put the video
because I
out.
really appreciate what you were doing there.
Yeah.
We don't need to cover that. That's kind of history and toast now, but it was a sad thing, that happened.
Anybody that is curious to know what we're talking about, I put a link to it below the video, so anybody can watch the video you put out clearing your name because he dragged your name into it. So
yeah, and that was the biggest problem is that I didn't know that he was promoting me as a mastermind behind what he's doing, and nothing could be farther from the truth. I mean, what he's teaching is quite the opposite of what I teach, and there was absolutely no money management there, but all kinds of new age crap that if you want to go there, that's fine, but I'm a successful trader. I know what I'm doing, and that has nothing to do with what I'm doing. That was the scam was not so much what he was doing, but he attached me to it as though I was behind it, I'm just going to have to be a lot more careful in the future. So
yeah, I mean, you obviously give people the benefit of the doubt. There's no doubt. I can see that in you. So.
Well, I do that, and we have a big problem, my wife and I, with the children, because I'm the one that, I believe in letting a child have all the free rope that they can. I mean, they don't even know I got a rope around them, and then when they really screw up, you yank that rope real hard, and that's how, whereas she wants to be controlling, and, they don't get very far with her before they get a swat, so... but with me, I said, no, you got the way you learn. And I was hoping, I tried to open the door with Gus to, look, you can salvage this. I'm not out here to destroy you in any way. I don't want to go into even what you're teaching. It's just that you have to tell people that you were falsely misrepresenting that I was involved, and then offering a money back guarantee if they weren't successful. And it was.
Gotcha.
But he didn't want to do that, so okay, we'll just I guess he also was telling people I was his business partner, which we're not. I have the only business partner I have is my wife. So anyway,
yeah, it sucks it all worked out the way it did, but at least you found out about it. And you got
and I don't look at it that way. I always like to make lemonade out of lemons. And to me, if you look at that, and it was an extensive program that we did, and I thought that it was really an opportunity. And in my last newsletter, I actually, I think it was an opportunity to teach people about money management, because this is exactly what was going on here. He actually posted the video. I mean, I had red flags because I did a show with him 2 weeks before, and he was talking about, the market had to do this, and I'm like, what? I said, this isn't anything I've taught, because I come from I don't make any predictions. I have no idea where the market is going, and because I work from that premise, I have no clue. I know that I don't know. And to me, that's what makes me the good trader that I am. And so whenever you think you know where the market's going, you better be real careful, because we don't.
Yeah. And
there are a lot of things and that's why money management is so important. So that's...
Now, do you use technical analysis or no?
Yeah, I'm a technician. Okay. Yes, but I don't know how else to teach. But most people need to throw it all away and then come back to it, because most people have the emphasis wrong. If you're having big equity swings, it's because you are emphasizing technical trading without proper money management. And so if you see you should not have these large equity swings unless you go into it knowing that to begin with. I took a little larger, I had a little larger downturn this last time than I've had all year, but I went into it knowing that, hey, if the worst happens, what happens. So, I use technical, and it's just, but I also use fundamental, but the key is the money management. We're actually we're building an app now to measure your own equity on BitMEX, and so I have a good friend in Tijuana that's an engineer, and he's perfecting this thing, and I'm going to start using it. It's called the Equity app, and so you can just, in other words, I think it's more, rather than trade this. Okay, let me explain it this way.
Okay.
A chart is objective. It's what's going out there in the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you have your HODL, okay, whatever's going on out there really doesn't affect you. You can have the same amount of Bitcoin if you're doing nothing, okay? The only thing that affects you is your equity. And so the only thing that should be your determining factor, particularly on exiting, would be your equity. And so, if you have a spike, I also believe, one book I do recommend, is The Art of Execution. I can never remember the author's name, but it's written by a money manager who managed billions of dollars and would send it out to different people to manage. And he doesn't trade for himself, but he found certain things that the successful traders do. One thing that they do, and I've always done it, didn't recognize there was a name for it, and that's trimming. And trimming is simply, as you catch a move, you do want to take a profit partially, as it's working for you. And so that is one of the principles that I've always used, and I've written about it on Medium. Again, if you want to kind of get a good flavor, you can go to my website, but we don't have all my articles on there. Some of the big ones are on there, but it's kind of hard to transfer them. I find it much easier to write on Medium. So if you go to Ugly Old Goat with the Ugly Old Goat on Medium, all my articles are there.
Okay.
And that would be, the best place to start.
Okay.
Yeah, and I start out very simply, and I'm a big believer in dollar cost averaging. And so, yeah, I mean, I've gained a little bit in Bitcoin this year, but I've reinvested most of my earnings this year or taken it to live on. I have a couple other businesses, and we do a lot of work during election year. So this was an off year. So we didn't have that great a year, but we knew we weren't. But now this next year, we'll be doing quite a bit of business, kind of like a firecracker stand. We do most of our business from September, October of this year, and then we're done, for another 2 years. So, yeah, you want to be doing something else. I mean, you have a full-time job besides doing this.
Yep.
Right. I
do. So, I work full-time. Yep.
Right, and that's me too. I mean, I work full-time. This is just for fun. So,
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I trade. I mostly swing trade. I've messed around with shorter trades here and there, but I usually look for the bigger swings, and I don't trade with. I'm around 5% of my account on a. That's a big trade to me. I don't use a lot of my HODL position at all. So,
and you don't need to. I mean, you really don't. Like I say, it's not that hard to run, one Bitcoin into 10 or 20 or 30 Bitcoin. You can do it. The hardest part is to keep it.
Yeah.
That's what money management is really about. I mean, and that was a classic with Kostas. He started out, and the problem is you get a King Kong complex pretty quick because you think you're so smart or you're talking with the stars or something, and
one good trade and you figured the world out, right?
Oh yeah, you got it all figured out, and you get humbled pretty quick. So you gotta stay humble in trading.
Yeah. There was something else I was gonna say that was along with that, and I can't think of it now. I'm sure it'll come back to me. But one thing I hear, because I talk about Bitcoin quite a bit out in the real world to people, and a lot of people, it's a scam, blah blah blah. But what I get from a lot of people that are interested, but their thing is it's too late now. I hear that all the time, and I try to explain, if you really look at what Bitcoin is, and look at the limited supply and the more people that actually get involved, which will happen, I mean, that's what's going to make it, the value. But people think that's already too late. It's.
Oh yeah, and I think. Do you have the link to the one? I thought Thomas Hunt addressed that really well at our Working Man's Conference. Maybe I'll send you that link. But he talked about it. Yeah, I looked at it when it was $1 and it was too high. Then I missed it, and then I looked at it when it was at $30 and I missed it, and then I looked at it when it was $200 and I figured I missed it. Then it went to 1,000. I know. So you need to understand that this is the mega trend, and it's not too late. It's a different way of thinking, and it's not just the Bitcoin, and that's what I'm teaching. Is I think there's two different things here. There's Bitcoin and there's the Bitcoin standard. And I think it's going to be more and more the development of the Bitcoin standard that's going to really make things take off. I look for the longest duration and largest price rise. I think the next move wave will be that one, and I think the reason it'll be the longest in duration and also price is because I see the adoption not coming from the unbanked or the poor or the average guy. It's going to be, and I think the next move is going to be generated by entrepreneurs who are waking up to the fact that this is something they need to onboard. And you don't jump in with 100%. You jump in with 5%. And if you're a small businessman or entrepreneur and you can start generating a small percent of your business in Bitcoin, hey, that's all you need. You don't need to have a lot of Bitcoin for it to really bail you out of some terrible situations. When my business was doing poorly, my Bitcoin was making me a millionaire. So, the way I put it is, if nothing, at my age, what I did is I was accumulating. I would just put my Social Security payment every month into Bitcoin, and if you'd done that since 2013. Figuring $1,000 a month, you're worth about $1.5 million today. So, where do you want to put your money on the government promise that they're going to take care of you, or are you going to go into something that will take care of you because it's scarce? And nobody's going to give you that. No financial advisor is going to give you that advice except an ugly old goat.
Nice. You were talking about your newsletter. If you want to talk about that a little bit, and I know you give insights on trading and stuff in that, right?
Well, I do. What I do, the main benefit of the newsletter is you get my track record.
Okay.
You'll get all of my trades that I've made since February 4th, and you can actually see how I took 2 Bitcoin and I run it into 33 Bitcoin. It's right there. Okay. It's not live. You're going to get, whenever time I put the newsletter, I don't even show a chart. I show my equity, okay, and I send you the trades because I'm really trading my equity. I'm looking at the charts, but my primary decisions are off of my equity. And right now, I'm kind of just out of the market completely because I took a fairly large risk, and the market didn't go as I, had hoped. And so I want to just be careful, and I'm really somewhat confused right now of where we are, the exit, and I kind of do this. I call it the exit, and it's in honor of Vitalik Buterin because he created this mess of altcoins through Ethereum. And so when he's going like this, and people are exiting, and this has happened this last year. I mean, part of the profits that we made this year was going short Ethereum and Bcash, and particularly last year too, in relationship to Bitcoin. And I think that trend over the long run is going to continue. And I think that we will eventually go to a 95% dominance or more of Bitcoin. I think that's inevitable. I think the mistake that's being made right now by this generation is they're confusing the competition for a standard with the competition within a standard. And F.A. Hayek, who wrote Denationalization of Money, if you study some of the work he's done, he clearly indicated, and it took me a while to understand it, but I agree with him, and that is that the competition is going to be on the standard that's adopted, which is Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is the standard, is F.A. Hayek standard, because it is the longest chain with proof of work. And the rest of these just, are all wannabes. I think the development is all going to be on Bitcoin. I'm not a big believer that it's going to be all on chain. I think that the solutions are going to probably come off chain. And I look at that from studying the gold standard. I was very much into gold. I actually, at one time, I was minting gold and silver coins and got in my own trouble doing that way back when I was a youngster. And instances, one in particular was the California gold rush, because gold was so plentiful and everything else was so scarce. I mean, they would literally pay $2,000 for, you know, a pound of coffee, which $2,000, it was valued at $20 an ounce then, not where it is now. So look how much gold you paid. That's why, you know, who made it during the gold rush was not the miners, but Levi's. And if you could get that gold back across the isthmus and sell it in New York, yeah, you made a fortune. But the problem is nobody was going in that direction. Everybody was coming from the East Coast to the West Coast and abandoning ships and going out to make their fortune in gold. And so gold was cash. But it was never cash in the rest of the world. It was never cash on the East Coast,
day-to-day basis.
No, gold coins never even circulated. What circulated was the silver coins and the copper coins, and because they had seigniorage, they were made in silver and copper or whatever, but their face value was higher than the intrinsic value. So people would you would spend those, you know, that's a legitimate function of government to provide that service, and also for government revenue. They call it seigniorage. And, you know, right now everything is in reverse. I mean, right now, if you look at a penny, I think when the United States government makes a penny, it costs them more than a penny to make that penny. So they'll probably be getting rid of the pennies very shortly, because it's definitely a losing proposition.
So, what do you believe Bitcoin's going to end up being? Do you think it's going to be a spending cash like people think, or do you think it's going to be more of a store of value?
I think it'll be a standard of value.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it will be, no, I don't see, and there was a good debate some time ago between Savy and I think it's Michael Selgin. You know, he's the head of American Institute for Economic Research, or was. Anyway, he's a well-known economist. And I don't see, there's kind of two views. And these are two views that we're on the same team. I mean, this is an in-house debate, but that's what was so great about this debate. And actually, Joe Saz wants to debate me with it too, so we might do a show on that eventually. But I think that Bitcoin will develop as a standard for entrepreneurs and for business. And hopefully, I think what might really happen is Bitcoin may just force sound money onto our governments, because as Bitcoiners and as our wealth increases, we will be able to choose our jurisdiction. Bitcoin has no jurisdiction, no borders.
Yes.
Gold literally does, especially because, you know, we can trace the gold through metal detectors and so forth. So gold has borders just as nations do. So a gold standard really is the right thing for a nation to do, to have sound money, and a great service for their citizens. And then they can make money from it due to the seigniorage. They can make silver or copper or coins, whatever coins they want, and have a face value. But the standard will be on gold in the same way I see the standard happening on Bitcoin. And maybe the way I can explain it is one thing that we've started to do on the newsletters. My developer insisted that he develop a referral program, because as Bitcoiners, one thing that you want to do is have a revenue stream in Bitcoin. And so we developed a referral service. So if you decide that, you know, my newsletter is something for you, we just provided CryptoSavy here with a referral link, and he will get paid 10% because you signed up through him. And because you signed up through him, you also get a 15% discount. Now, this is already happening. BitMEX does it. There's lots of referral programs on and this is really merchant banking. Now, we've created money, because you don't know if I have the Bitcoin. I mean, I do, but you'll actually have a credit with me as people sign up under you. Okay. And so, you know, and then we're not an exchange. I'm not going to send it out every day or on demand, but If you ask for it, we'll send you your referral, or you can buy something on our store with it, and hopefully this will grow. So, I see it happening. Like CryptoSavy here will have his own store, and hey, we don't need to get on the blockchain to do business anymore. We can set. I think that it's going to be free, and it's going to. I'm going to call it merchant banking. Okay, and that's what I see developing. I'm a big believer. One of my mentors is was E.C. Harwood, and he was the founder of American Institute for Economic Research, and he taught me about sound commercial banking. And it's really a lost art, and you need to study that, because what happened is gold was not used very much. What was used is the gold standard, and the banks figured out how to create money that's not money out of nothing, okay? But they created a non-inflationary purchasing media, and the way they did it is they would create credits for the new goods being offered into the marketplace, and they had a lien on those goods. And then, as those goods, the producer would get a loan in the gold notes, and using those notes, he could pay off his suppliers, his employers, and whatever else needed to be done. And then as that product was sold, those notes would be retired. So it's called, another term for it is self-liquidating commercial paper. And I see that developing in the years ahead. Right now, the Bitcoin banks are the exchanges, which is a very poor and weak form of banking.
Yeah.
As a hodler, you are now becoming a banker, and you really need to wake up to the fact. I think that the new banking is going to emerge from hodlers. Concept that kind of, people say, wow, that's kind of different. If you study history, that's what I see happening. I don't know if it will, but that's what I see happening.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to talk about was the not your keys, not your crypto thing going on with the exchanges and all the Bitcoin supposedly in the exchanges. Do you think anything will come of that? People start pulling their Bitcoin off and the exchanges don't actually have it? What they claim to have?
Yeah, I think that will happen. So yeah. I do think that and I think there's ample evidence for it. It's already happened. I mean,
and I feel the same way.
I have probably lost 400 Bitcoin or more through, exchanges have gone under. I took the Bitfinex haircut at 30%. Now, it hasn't happened to me for years. It's a lot better.
Yeah.
But it's still happening. We had a Canadian exchange that went under this year. So
we've had quite a few exchanges. I think there's like seven things that happen with exchanges with people getting their money lost this year.
Yeah, and I don't trust COINBASE. I'll be writing about that more in the future. But I think there'll be some really great solutions. One thing I am looking at that I think will be a huge advancement, and it's not clear yet. I've written articles on it, and you can check on that on my Medium channel. But I do think that the Bakkt exchange will probably evolve this coming year into the premier market that will quickly overtake everything else out there.
Now they're starting to talk about cash settled futures. Do you?
Well, that's what Bakkt is. The reason that I'm saying that is it appears, and it's not clear yet, but it appears that it will be a deliverable future. It's just a different mechanism that's ever been used before. In my youth, I was a Series 7 securities dealer and commodities broker. I was in the gold and silver business, so I know about taking and making delivery. I've actually done it in live feeder cattle before, and you can imagine what that's like.
Yeah.
You got to keep the cattle fed and watered while you're doing this delivery. So it's not an easy thing, and Bitcoin's hard to use. But Bakkt, it was really well thought out. The thing that's different about it is the warehouse is actually part of the exchange. Now, in gold and silver, the exchanges had the warehouses were not part of the exchange. When I got a gold receipt, I would get something from Chase or Iron Mountain Depository, or something like Bakkt, whatever there are half a dozen exchanges or depositories, and then you would literally arrange to have a Brinks truck go up and pick up your gold if you wanted it. And that's essentially what's happening on these. Now, the problem with your Bakkt certificates is they are vulnerable. Something happens and the government wants to come in and confiscate it. It's there. So the important thing is you have to be able to get it off of the Bakkt exchange,
okay,
or put it on there within a reasonable amount of time, which 72 hours is very reasonable. And they are working on that. They're going to do it through the Futures Commission merchants. It looks like is what's going to be happening, and not all of them are going to do it. So it will be a specialty. I think Interactive Brokers is working on it, so I'm really looking forward to see just how it's going to work. But that will be a very useful tool, and you just use it like anything else. If you're a hodler, you don't put more on that exchange than you can afford to lose. And the key will be, we don't want your Bakkt certificate. You might, because you might need it for liquidity. Okay. But if you don't need it for liquidity, you want to be able to get it off of there within a reasonable amount of time, which I think 72 hours is very reasonable, and to put it in your private address. So they're working out ways to do that, so that it can be done. So I'm very, when that happens, and I think it's going to happen, to me, that's a very bullish event for Bitcoin, major league now.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's some YouTubers spreading FUD about it and making it sound way worse than it is. And the way you just explained it, I wish more people could hear that.
Well, they don't understand it, and they also are trying to get, there's people like the conspiracy theories, that's all great. But look, they spent $128 million developing this platform. The guys that did it were not stupid, I guarantee you. And the more I've looked at it, I see why they did it the way they did it. They did it because if it was a flat-out delivery, the CFTC would have never approved it.
Gotcha.
The way that it is now, it's very easily approved of, because now you have the only thing that's different between it was with gold and silver. With gold and silver, there were multiple depositories that were apart from the exchange. Now here, there's just one depository. It's part of the exchange. But because of Bitcoin, I see why they had to do it that way. But it doesn't mean you can't get it out of that exchange and send it to your private address, or vice versa. So it will make some interesting things. And if you want to study it, one reference I put in my newsletter is go study the potato default back in the I think 76 or something like that, where I don't know if you know who Simplot is, but Simplot basically invented frozen French fries and provided French fries for all of McDonald's, and he basically owns the potato. All the potato production in Idaho, but what was traded on the exchange was Maine potatoes. And so he was a big short, but couldn't deliver Maine potatoes. He could only deliver Idaho potatoes. So that there are some things that will be kind of weird because, but anybody that knows arbitrage, will be able to figure it out. Basically, your Bitcoin is not deliverable. You have to convert your Bitcoin to the warehouse receipt, and that is deliverable. So but you should be able to do that within a reasonable amount of time, 3 days, and you should be able to get it out in a reasonable amount of time, 3 days. And now you have, there's still going to be, it's still sitting there, it's still vulnerable to confiscation, but you don't have, if you're an international business, you just have a part there. And this goes on the same whole theory. Hey, I live in Mexico. And, if we have sound money, or even if we don't have sound money, I can pick the jurisdiction where I'm doing business.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. If somebody is being oppressive with your Bitcoin, you're just not, they're not going to get my wealth. So I see that, hopefully the governments are going to wake up to this, and they're going to be competing to have Bitcoiners coming into their economies, or they should be. And that's what I see is a very real possibility. We'll find out.
Yeah, I think pretty much on the same page as you with that. We had a question in here, if you don't mind asking. Predator asked me to ask you what you need to see Bitcoin price do for you to enter longs again, and what protects you from pullbacks at resistance.
Okay, I really want to be long, and I kind of just took a hit. I guess the biggest thing that's keeping me out of the market now is I've just got my hands in a lot of different things. And if you're going to trade it, you do have to be focused, okay? Yeah. And I'm a position trader. Had my position been right and we'd have broken up instead of down, I would be still in the market and actively trading. So, yeah, I mean, I measure trend, and this is on all my newsletters, and I think it's in the Medium. I measure it with the 2-week high and the 2-week low. And so right now I have to measure it as a bear. I completely ignored it and told people I was, and the reasons why, because this last time when we took out the 2-week low, and I shouldn't have, but I was wrong. I'm going to be wrong in trading. So, my problem is if it rallies that much, you got to sell it, and yet I'm kind of bullish. So I just don't think there's probably not going to be a lot between now and the end of the year. And I don't discount that we can go all the way down to 3,000. And you need to be emotionally and prepared for that. And it's not going to cut anything out of Bitcoin. I mean, I wrote in June when we went out through 11,000. I write a lot about basis, and that's why I'm not. I can go into basis if you want me to go into basis, but I've written so many articles on it, and it's kind of a study in and of itself. But for example, last year in 2018, when we were there, every time we go down to 6,000, the market went into what's called backwardization. And you know what backwardization is?
No.
Okay. So that's the problem. I do have to educate. Okay, well, the basis is the difference between the futures and the spot market. Okay. And what was happening last year, well, I can go all the way back to 2016 and 17. What was happening then, the market was very immature. And on the Chinese exchange, we didn't even have futures, I don't think. It was just on the Chinese exchanges. And they were trading anywhere from $200 to $400 or $500 under spot. And everybody was looking, oh, Bitcoin's going down, it's bearish. Or maybe it was 50 to 200, I don't remember. But it was a big discount percentage-wise. And I knew, no, that's bullish. Because what happens is, futures are set up for commercial users, not speculators. It provides a useful function to pass on risk. And so speculators are also providing a very useful economic function because they're accepting that risk. But because we're in such backwardization, that was tipping me off that the next move was going to be a substantial up move. And of course, we went up all of 2017. But when we peaked back there in December of 2017, we were in what's called contango. And you can just Google ugly old goat and contango, and my article should pop up. Okay. But basically, what happened? And so that's when we topped out, and it was pretty easy to call. Well, then all that year, every time we'd go down to 6,000 or below it or contest it, we were going into the backwardization. So I was always bullish. Now, I'd always try and build a position. Never went anywhere. I traded all of 2018 and just broke even. And then finally, that's better than most. But you know what? If you can trade that long and break even, you're on your way to success.
Yeah.
Breaking even, there's nothing wrong with breaking even. Okay. So anyway, when the market went up another time from that 6,000, it went into a contango. And I told people, hey, you know what? If this thing breaks now, don't buy it. Don't buy this next dip below 6,000. I went short. That's when they did the SBV BCH split.
Yeah.
I saw that happening. Very bearish indicator. I sold Bitcoin. I sold Bcash. I sold Ethereum. Of course, everything collapsed. We went down below the 6,000. I sold more at 5,000 and covered it all about 3,500. And that was my year. That made my whole year from last October to December. Then in December, we went back into the backwardization, and I said, that's time to buy again. And then at the Unconfiscatable conference back in January, everybody was bearish. It was going to break 3,000. I was the only one. No, it's not. It's probably not going to break 3,000. This thing should go up from here. And of course, it did go up. And then we had that
in a big way.
Breakout. Yeah, big one. We had a big breakout that took out. I look at the weekly, daily. It took out the daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly on April 1st, which is extremely bullish. So I'd be very surprised if we get back down there, but I'm not discounting. We won't. So then we ran up and ran up and ran up, but we were still in a backwardization until June. Then from that move from 11 to 14,000, we went back into the contango again. And that's when I wrote the article, hey, this is it's very speculative. It's a bad bet to be long now because all the speculators are long. They're paying a big premium. Not only has the market gone up 4 times, but you're paying several hundred and they're below 7,000. You'll notice the 2 spikes, it went down into backwardization. That could have been bought. But now can we rally from here? It can, and it's just just too much going on right now that I don't trust. And I think the big fundamental, I'm very bullish because of the Bakkt fundamental, but I can offset that with the idea of these altcoins. I do think that Richard Hart's hex is going to be disruptive.
You think it's gonna?
Yeah, I'm afraid it'll get traction. I'm hoping not, but if it does, but even if it doesn't matter if it gets traction or not, I think it's going to be hopefully the final downfall of the alts. That when we recognize what he's doing is honest corruption. He admits it's a Ponzi scheme. It's just, something he's created to enrich himself and other people because he really doesn't believe in Bitcoin as a standard because he doesn't understand the economics. So I think that's why I'm calling 2020, and I just came up with this phrase, I don't know, today or yesterday. I think 2020 is going to be a clown show.
It'll be a clown show?
Be a clown show. I think we're gonna show Roger Ver and Vitalik Buterin and Richard Hart and all the rest of the crowd, Lubin and all the rest of these crowds. They're gonna be exposed for the clowns that they are, and that's what makes it possible that we could have a sharp spike down in sympathy, in Bitcoin. I've been around long enough. I've seen, the 80 and 90% sell-offs.
Yeah.
There's no reason. I never laughed at Tyler Jenks when he said, the market could go under $1,000, and I still won't laugh at that. I don't know. And I trade accordingly, and that's what I teach. I think Tyler's only mistake was he was 99.9% sure.
Obviously, that didn't happen.
Well, me too. I thought we were going to do it too. But we don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know. And the whole key is you need to have that viewpoint to be you don't need to know where the market is going to be a successful trader. Yeah. It's just not a requirement.
Well, and that's I've tried to explain that to people too. Analysis and trading. I mean, you can be good at analysis and suck at trading because it's basically 2 different things. I mean, really, there's a skill to trading beyond being able to analyze a market. So,
yeah, it is, and that's what that's why what you're saying is what I've tried to define, and what's missing in 95% of the people that I've seen. It's because they had their priorities wrong. If you can get the priority money management first, then technical, you'll be you don't have to be that right. The problem is everybody has this technical, they all think they have the holy grail, or they're seeing something, and they think the past can predict the future. It does not predict the future. All it does is show you patterns of the past, which can be useful. You know, I don't diminish technical trading. I mean, everybody uses it. I mean, and there's new things. That's why I'm developing the equity app. Is really technical, but it's different technical. You're trading your equity. That's technical.
That sounds interesting.
Really, yeah, basis is really fundamental, and that is a fundamental way of looking at the market. And but yeah, the equity app is really a money management application, which I think is more important than the technical. You don't have to be good at the technical to be successful, but you have to be good at money management, no matter how good you are at technical. And that's the hardest thing for people to learn, because they think there's some magic beans in the market. There's something that I do that, you know, and this is what Kostis was promising. Oh, you know, I'm working with Ugly. He's going to reveal this. I don't have any secrets. Okay, it's not magic.
Now, what is the first thing for people talk about money management all the time, and I won't keep you too much longer. I'm just curious if you could make a quick explanation of money management, and just in a nutshell for the people watching.
Yeah, you don't want to risk more than 5% of your HODL. So, you know, take your HODL. You know, if you got, you know, let's make it, if you got a 10 Bitcoin HODL, there's no reason for you to be trading more than half a Bitcoin. And you can take that half a Bitcoin and run it into 5 or 10 Bitcoin. And then things change. You want to get into what I call other people's money as fast as you can. Now, if I was starting out with 2 Bitcoin, I would not have taken on the trade that I took and just, you know, got hammered on. But what had happened is I did it and explained why, because I had hit a new equity high. And I was building a position with the idea that, you know, I wanted to establish it here, and if it worked my way, I would have actually doubled it. I wanted to have at least 40 on, and have and with the goal of having eventually 80 to 100 Bitcoin with a properly structured pyramid. But none of that happened. But that's how you can literally take 2 Bitcoin and run it into several hundred, which I've done. Okay, it can be done, but you don't risk I mean, I was, in 2017, I was actually one of the top 10 notational traders on BitMEX. Mm-hmm. And now there's some huge traders on there that took, and I think I took out 400 Bitcoin or something like that. I was still in the top 10. But you don't know what these people start with. I mean, if you made 1,000 Bitcoin this year, you know, but you started with 1,000, you really only, you know, you doubled which is great, it's a great return.
Yeah.
But please, and if you're a swing trader, you can do really well swing trading, but then you're going to get caught once you hit that trend, and because that's just the nature of that beast. Most swing traders are not position traders now, so I kind of combine the two. I want to be a position trader, and then I do my trimming for swing trading. So, you know, as the position is working for me, then I will, you know, cash in on the way up or down, and then, you know, and kind of, you know, you play with the trend. You sell the rallies or buy the dips from there. And you may not, you know, you're not going to make as much because you've knocked down your position, but you also are going to be in a position where the market, you know, sells off, or, you know, if it's a counter rally and a trend, you can take advantage of that. So,
gotcha.
I mean, chart your equity. That's basically what the equity app is. Just make an open, high, low, close daily of your trading equity.
That's pretty damn interesting.
Yeah, that's essentially what we're doing, and then we're applying. I don't know if you're familiar with tone-based, Tom DeMark indicator. We're building that, but rather than measuring the market, we're measuring you. So your equity app, your chart's going to be different from mine.
Gotcha.
If you hit a 9, you can say, "Oh, this is maybe a time I should be cautious and take some profit or whatever." And I found it very. I've unconsciously do it. I mean, I watch my equity on BitMEX, and that's what I primarily learn to trade.
Now, do you trade leverage, and how high a leverage if you do?
Yeah, I trade leverage, but I always just I don't measure it. I'm always what is that? The cross. I'm always on cross.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, if I'm not going to be there at the market, and I don't use stops. Rarely, I'll put a stop if I'm not going to be around the market just to do that, and I want to limit a loss. But the key is you don't want to have enough on there. You want to have just if you get wiped out by some black swan event, you want to.
It's not
and I did. I got wrecked on this I was so busy doing stuff. I said, "Here's the trade. If I get wrecked, I get wrecked," and I wound up getting taken out. Right.
But you didn't risk more than you were willing to lose, right?
Right, and I'm well ahead for the year. I mean, I basically my equity went from 38 Bitcoin to 33 Bitcoin. I risked 5 Bitcoin from the 38 I took out. The 38 I'd already taken out the 2, so we're still way ahead for the year. But and I don't. You need to learn to trade and not follow somebody.
Yeah.
Following somebody you don't try and follow me. I don't recommend that, and don't try and follow anybody. But I can teach you the principles of trading, and if you learn that, then you'll be way ahead of the game. And like number one, I don't know where the market is going. I'm a very successful trader, and anybody that's telling you they know where the market's going, I wouldn't trust them. Yeah, that's what happened. We did, that's when the red flags came out with me, because when I did the program with.
I heard that it wouldn't go below 8,000.
Oh no! If it goes to 8,000, it's done. I said, well, "Wait a minute! I didn't teach you that, Gus." So
apparently Bitcoin's going to 0, right?
Right, and so that right then he threw away that principle, and I'm telling you, a lot of large traders become small traders. They just do, and you don't want to be that. You want to be a little old trader that, hey man, I've made 10 times my equity this year. Well, good for you,
Exactly. All right. Well, you got a couple minutes? You want to answer a few questions in the chat?
I can answer questions. Let me read some of them here.
Okay.
Okay. What questions do we have? Is 10 Bitcoin enough? Everybody wants more Bitcoin. That's a silly question.
There were some questions in here. Let me see if I can find them. Go back up here. Steve. Oh yeah, that bet's still on, Steve. I'm good with that. But Steve was asking you if Bitcoin is back into backwardization right now.
No, it's not.
No. Okay.
Last I checked, yeah, it's in. When it went down there, it just was for a matter of hours.
Okay.
And then it rallied, and then we took the second breakdown. In fact, you can look at every time. It used to, when I wrote about it initially, it was not a timing indicator, and I mean, it would stay down there for weeks or months.
Okay.
And yet, fundamentally, I knew that couldn't last. And I wrote about it, and there's been a lot of guys smarter than me, mathematicians, and people that they actually are looking at it different than I do. They call it funding, because Arthur Hayes, who started BitMEX, he actually innovated a lot of stuff that you guys probably don't appreciate, but I do. And that is the perpetual swap, which has a funding mechanism in it, which is kind of a reciprocal of basis. And that was one of the things that kind of corrected, so the basis didn't go much into backwardization, because if it does that, then what happens is the longs start getting paid and it tends to bring it up, that's the market phenomena. So a lot of these guys that are really good at math and what do they call that, the algorithms, they're looking at the funding more than the basis, because they think that and they're probably right, that actually the funding now is determining the basis more than the basis the funding. It's kind of a chicken and an egg thing, but it's kind of a funding is problem. Willie Woo just came out in my newsletter. I did refer to two articles. One of them was done at a conference there in Hong Kong by a Chinese mathematician, and then the other one by Willie Woo. And they're looking more at funding than basis. They acknowledged my article. And they acknowledge that basically I was the one that turned a lot of people onto it, but they're looking at it in a more sophisticated way than I do.
Yeah, I seen him. Willie Woo was playing with I forget what it was called, but he had an indicator up that showed the funding.
Yeah, he did that. He did an interview with COINBASE, and it was very good. And I recommend. If you visit my Twitter, I'm Ugly Old Goat One. And when I find a good article, I do tweet it out, or a good session, and that one is on there. It was excellent. And then this other one that, in fact, one of your followers there, one of my speakers, Zazo Duarte, he kind of keeps his eye out on a lot of this stuff and sends it to me. So I think the one in Hong Kong he showed me. But yeah, people, it's something you just, if you're into the market, it's changed now. It is a timing indicator. Every time it's going down there, you want to be in there buying that. If I had waited for that market to go into backwardization, I would have never taken a hit. I'd never been, I'd have been out of the market then and until then, and then gotten in. The problem is you don't know if it's going to go down there or not.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here thinking, I don't think because normally you shouldn't go into backwardization. Okay, it's not a phenomenon that should happen, and yet Bitcoin's weird, and it does happen because people get overly excited one way or another.
Yeah.
And then when they, particularly on the market positions like on BitMEX, when people are blown out of the market, and the futures will, pop down below spot, and that's when every time it's done that for the last year, you could buy it within, and it only lasted for minutes or maybe an hour, and that was always a reversal.
There's also,
in fact, I caught the move up, the 40% move up. I got stopped out and immediately got back in because it went into backwardization.
Gotcha.
And so caught the move up. That's when I hit my equity high.
Gotcha.
And I trimmed all the way up. But my only problem was I started buying and then of course it kept going down. Now last week, when we went below 7,000, that was the time they gave you two chances to buy down there. If I had a position on there, I would be holding it. So.
Gotcha. So, how do you feel about the futures and leverage and everything else going on, perpetual contracts? People are saying it's destroying Bitcoin and whatnot. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that they don't really understand the market. They don't understand the value that, again, one of my biggest heroes in the market is Arthur Hayes. I have a hats off respect for him because he really has provided us something that was not available before. And I don't think people really understand it because, you take some hits and the market will fast move down there. But let me tell you something. In my day, on the futures market, you can lose much more than your equity that you have on the exchange. In fact, that happened to me on several occasions. And believe me, they're going to come and collect.
I was going to say, so they're going to get their money.
They're going to get their money, or you're going to be broke. You're going to so. that's basically, and he's given you a way that you're not going to lose more than you have in there, which is just a huge advantage.
Hence the saying, don't put in more than you're willing to lose. And right. You know, I think a lot of people, especially new people that try to trade, they start with way too much money, so their emotions are going crazy, and they're just basically throwing money into the market. And I mean,
well, one of my first articles, I think the first one I wrote, was blowing out of the market with a smile.
Yep.
Okay? If you can't smile when you get blown out of the market, you're not following money management principles.
Nor are you playing with anything you should be.
And of course, once you get that alligator, you're behind that alligator, then you want to double down and make it all back. Well, that isn't going to work either. You know,
that's what happened when I first started trading. I lost a lot of money in the beginning, but that made me come up with a strategy. I mean, and be more strict on what I was doing, because I had no idea what I was doing when I first started. So
yeah, so, and a lot of people don't have any idea, and they've been trading for years. So like I say, unless somebody can show you a track record, a long-term track record, you know, you just, you know, and that was probably, you know, what I should have done, but I didn't know, you know, that's what I should have demanded from Kostis, but I assumed he wasn't trading in a big way, and that we're, you know, anyway, I just assumed that he understood what he kept saying, you know, that he was following my money management, which he didn't at all. Yeah. He has no clue that that's the key to trading. He's you know, he's in communication with the universe, and you know, I can't beat that. If you're in communication with the universe, then you can do, you know, go there, but that's not how I do it. I don't communicate with the universe.
Yeah, he used you for credibility is what he did, to do what he was going to do.
That's obvious now. So,
yeah.
So I'll say something else. What was I going to say about Arthur Hayes? Anyway, it's an incredible thing what he's done. Most people don't appreciate him. I do, because I know. Oh, I'm going to tell you the other thing too, and they've improved it a lot. But when you have these markets that are fast and you can't get in, you don't know how it used to be. When I was back in the day in the 1970s, there were some days, you know, I wouldn't get my fills back for hours. Couldn't get orders in, didn't get orders out.
No liquidity.
I even remember a day or two when, you know, we didn't get our fills until just before the market opened the next day. And you couldn't, yeah. And back then we would send in the orders through teletype, and that was the best way because the phones could all be tied up or whatever. So these are all problems that, you know. So he, you know, believe me, you know, there's no indication that BitMEX is not running a very honest game, because I know when it's, you know, I've seen it the other way, and I'd say Arthur's done, in my mind, he should be recognized for the innovator that he is, and that's why if you're a United States citizen, you can't trade on his exchange, and you shouldn't blame him. He just doesn't want the U.S. government in your business, in his business. And so, you know, if you're complaining about that, don't complain to Arthur Hayes. Complain to your congressman, because the United States government wants to be in everybody's business throughout the world, and he's done a super job of keeping them off his back. And I'm pretty well persuaded that, you know, all the problems that he is getting is not coming so much from the CFTC, but from the CME and maybe Bakkt and the CBOE, because these guys, they do basically stack the CFTC, the regulators. And so they're sicking the regulators. It's not so much the CFTC, but the actual competition in the United States wants to eliminate the one guy that's really head and shoulders above all of them, at least right now. And I think Bakkt can, well, because BitMEX and Arthur is a derivative, he's been able to keep everybody off. As long as he stays there, he's fine. He can't offer a deliverable contract, because then he has invited this, you know, all the regulators in. But as long as he stays where he's at, and he's only in Bitcoin, then he's pretty well, you know, immune to these other things, and he just doesn't want to trade. He doesn't want anything to do with the United States citizen. I can't. I'm a U.S. citizen. I can't trade on BitMEX.
Gotcha.
My wife can, but I can't because she's Mexican, but I'm not. So
yeah,
I've been kicked off more than once.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's the exchanges that they allow us to use are horrible. I mean,
yes.
It's horrible.
Yes.
I've had extremely. I actually have one of them that admitted to owing me money in an email and saying that I would get it, and this was over a month ago, and I still have not gotten it. I mean, it's
I
shady.
sued COINBASE and they settled with me, but I had to agree not to talk about it. So I can't talk about that one. But subsequently, I was involved in a class action, which I'll be writing about, and I will talk about that one. So I do not recommend COINBASE. I think that they're nothing but trouble for you. And whenever I can, I recommend people getting off of it. It's convenient, I agree. But if you lose all your Bitcoin, don't blame me because I told you to get off of there.
Well, you don't own them. So, I mean, that's what it boils down to, unfortunately. So, but anyway, I really appreciate you coming on and giving us the time. And anything else you want to say or talk about, go right ahead.
I mean, if you guys have any questions, check out the new. Oh, I was going to tell you this too. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but we do have my newsletter is normally a tenth of a Bitcoin, which right now is $750. But through today, we have Black Friday that we start on Friday. It ends tonight at midnight. So if you subscribe now, you will get half price. And if you sign up through CryptoSavy, you'll get another 15% off. So that's 0.0425,
nice,
which is a little over $300. And it's a lifetime membership. My life, not yours. So, so if you're and we won't have this again because eventually I'm going to have to go probably to a monthly model or something. So if you are interested, check out the website, check out my Twitter, check out Medium, and this is the time to sign up because tomorrow it's going to be back at our regular price. And awesome. Sign up through CryptoSavvy here, and
there's a link below the video, guys.
Reward him a little bit for his efforts, and we'll probably be doing more shows because I appreciate. Like I said, I remembered you when you warned me, and I didn't want to. I thanked you for it, but I said, I have no indication that's the case, and I like I say, I'm gonna have to just be a lot more careful in the future, and
ask Cody anything.
Yeah, that's and the reason I knew I had seen him doing it before, and I seen him wreck a lot of people, and I just knew by the way he acted, he kind of acted like a cult leader, is what he reminded me.
Well, he is. That's what it is. Yeah. That's what it is. And he's into the ayahuasca and the drug thing, and the inner self. And you know what? I'm very. I believe in logic. My goal is to be logical. To me, then that's what I teach. That's why money management is, again, the reason people fail, the reason Kostis failed is because he started with the wrong presupposition and had the wrong logic. He thought he could know. He thought that he was tuned into the universe. And I'm not tuned into the universe. I know that I don't know. And I know that because of that, the most important thing is managing your money. And that's at every level. And then it also applies to your trading, which is a micro level, but it applies to every part of your business. I mean, and that's why it's not just hodling, but it's saving and it's building. So that's what I did. In fact, I have a little dance I can end it with. I haven't done that for a while. Probably the last time I did it was with Kostis, but it's easy. I kind of make a fool of myself, but it will remind you of what I teach. Okay, it's really simple. I'll do this once, and then Savvy, if you want to get up with me, you can do it with me. But let's see if I gotta just cancel it a bit.
I'll do it with you.
All right. So I
don't know exactly what you're doing, so.
Okay, you gotta go hobble, hobble, hobble.
Hodl, hodl, hodl.
Save, save, save.
Save, save, save.
Build a, build a, build a.
Build a, build a, build a.
Sound money.
Sound money.
Money.
Sound money.
Sound money. Yeah, you gotta kind of put your hands up. So we'll do it fast this time. You ready?
All right.
Here we go. Hodl, hodl, hodl. Save,
Save, save, save.
Build a, build a, build a. Sound money. Sound money. All right, that's it.
My screen's lagging, so I couldn't do it along with you. It was screwing me all up. So.
Well, we'll do it live sometime.
All right, man.
Only I didn't appear with my ugly old goat mask. I should have probably done that to surprise your listeners, but I've been I got to find it. It's somewhere around here, but.
All right,
Tone
man.
kind of got me off my mask, but I need to wear it for at least maybe initial one so people can see what the ugly old goat's supposed to look like.
Sounds good, man. Again, I appreciate it, and I'll be keeping in touch with you for sure.
All right. Well, we'll do it again sometime.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good night.